What's up, everybody? It's the Bipolar Prophet, and welcome back to Court Farms in Farming Simulator 15. We're down here for the third day now. We've taken a few days off in between while a lot of other stuff has been going on down here. We're down here to pick up the bales and sell off the last of the grain. And then I'm going to load up the bales that I bought, and we are done down here at Court Farms. I was taking a little bit of a break, and I saw this monster pull up here, spreading some muck over here on one of these fields, Big old triaxle muck spreader and a big Massey Ferguson on the front. Pretty cool to watch, That's part of the problem I'm having over here now. Perry's always yelling at me. Perry's actually sitting up in the field waiting for me. He's got a bale trailer hooked up to a tractor. He's like, you spend more time just sightseeing and watching stuff than you do actually working over here. It's pretty cool to see a big farm like this, coming back into operation. Again, as I said in the last Old Ridge video, I found out that a lot of this land has been bought for to plant sugar beets on, which is really cool, I think. So, and it should be interesting to watch. I'm going to definitely come back down here at some point and, sort of watch some of this operation go on. There's been trucks and tractors and people and everything else. For the first day, I was the only person down here. Me and, Thomas Dean, the caretaker, and then all of a sudden, everybody else showed up. So you can see it's a really cloudy day here in at Court Farms, which is okay. Unfortunately, to jump out of the sort of story for a minute, you can see sort of the outline of the high-def texture and the way that the background texture and the way that it sits with the clouds. It's a little weird, but there's nothing I can do about that. So we're just going to have to suspend our disbelief about that for a minute. I love watching giant stuff work. I think that's a lot of fun. Obviously on Old Ridge, I don't have the acreage for equipment this big, but it is cool to watch this stuff go when it's around. So I've really enjoyed that. One other thing was we're going to pick up all these bales. We're going to bring them down to a dairy, which is a little ways from here, and drop them off. I believe probably the same dairy that muck spreader is getting its manure from, I would imagine. So this field's huge. It's going to take a lot of manure to spread this field. So I'm glad I don't have to worry about it. Okay, anyway, time to go to work. Enough sort of farm watching, enough tractor spotting. It's time to go to work. There are a lot of bales on this field that need to be picked up. So now, I'm going to say this right up front, again, to sort of jump out of the story. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I have the bale fork set to auto load, and I also have the trailer set to auto load. So hopefully this will all go fairly smooth. I won't have a giant mess on the bale trailer. All I have to do is pick up the bales, get close enough to the trailer, and it should suck them right off and put them on the trailer. Hopefully that's the way it's supposed to work. We'll see if it does. You can see it's a good-sized bale trailer. Had to go and pick up a dolly from down the road to hook up to the tractor and everything. But, all in all, this is all going pretty well. The bank must be thrilled about about the way things are going with this farm, because, there has to be some sort of, maybe, which way am I going? Am I going the right way? Yep. There had to be some sort of worry about a farm this big, this much property just sitting around not generating any revenue, but apparently they've sold quite a bit of the land, so I will apologize ahead of time for the lag between the textures, between the clouds and everything, which causes lag anyway. I'm going to get a lot more lag, but I really wanted to get this series sort of done, and get this work done so I can kind of focus on Old Ridge and some other stuff I have coming up. So now, if I hit Z, there we go. I know, not particularly realistic, but you know what? At least the bales will go on there neatly. At least it'll be, fairly quick, I hope. Oh. Did you want to pick up that bale? Thank you. Oh. And again, the lag is going to cause, it's going to cause the mouse to move funny. It's going to cause the bales to not want to work, and, or not want to work, but, not pick up maybe as quickly as they should, as you can see. So, and there's really nothing I can do about that. So now you can see how far that thing got, right? I mean, it's already saying, it needs to be refilled. Well, you know what? That's not my problem. So, it's just showing up on the sort of broadcast of the farm. Not my issue. Somebody else needs to go refill that. No, this is my job. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know. Again, trying to keep these these episodes at a reasonable length. So I don't know if we'll. There's a lot of bales on this field. I don't know if we'll get them all on one trail load or not. If we do, then that's great. And if it doesn't take too long, we can go and sell the rest of the grain too. If not, then we'll have to come back for one more episode of selling grain and see what else has been going on down here. And we will. Then that will be the end of that series. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I know I have. This map. Again, I would love to to sort of get out of the story once again. I would love to run, to work this map, but it's too laggy really for my computer, especially when stuff like, it's cloudy. I can't imagine what this is going to look like when it rains. I would imagine that my computer would probably be down to, I'm probably less than, 30 frames a second now. So I can only imagine, when it starts to rain and stuff, how bad it would be. You know what I was thinking? There's really no reason why I can't do this in the cab, right? A little less laggy in the cab. It's not like I'm actually placing the bales on the trailer, so all I need to do is get close enough to the trailer. Again, this is one of those game balance things. Is it realistic? Of course it's not. It's not realistic at all. But it's balanced for the game, you know what I mean? There are, and I say this all the time as well, there are people who are so good at stacking bales, TCGG Rob comes to mind. Grant, the Scottish gaming guy, is awesome at stacking bales. I am not. So, and the problem is too is that I guess if they'd have never invented, if they'd have never come out with these, UBT, auto loading sort of, mods and stuff, that I would have had to get good at it. But I didn't, so I'm not. So I am very grateful for mods like this that will just, spear these bales, pick them up, put them on the forks the way they're supposed to be. Trailers that'll pick them up. Now I could just drive the trailer around and, and pick up the bales that way. But I wanted to try to do it as, as within balance as realistically as possible. So I'm having a real issue with my mouse too. Between, some updated drivers, my mouse is pretty old and it's cheap, costs like $5 at Walmart. Between the USB 3 that I run and, this mouse is not particularly happy about that. So it's going to be time for a new mouse. I've been saying that for a year now. I just hate to spend money. If I'm going to upgrade stuff, mouses and things like that, I'm not quite sure what the correct term for that is. Mouses, I don't know. But are not really high on my priority list, to say the least. So I can only imagine me trying to stack bales on this trailer with any sort of, being able to get more than, say, 4 bales on it. Because I don't know how many bales this will hold, but I bet it'll hold a bunch. So, it's just better to let the trailer do it, and at least that way there'll be meat on there. It'll hold the maximum amount it's supposed to hold, and that will be that. So. One thing about doing it this way, and I've never run a telehandler before. I've never operated one, I've operated a lot of front loaders, a lot of Bobcats, things like that, but never a telehandler. I always wonder, how do you see? It's the view is a little restricted, to actually get up to the bales. I guess like anything else, with experience, you learn what you're doing. And I almost wish that this sort of, like, I don't know, the boom was up higher. Obviously, I can move it, but when I'm picking up bales, I have to have it down, and then the bale forks are in the way. So it's always something with me, huh? When we first came down here to do this, I didn't see a telehandler. I didn't see a front loader. I didn't see a telehandler. I didn't see any way to pick up these bales. And I was wondering if I was going to have to bring my JCB down here. But after talking to Mr. Dean, there was a telehandler parked in a shed. Apparently this was one of the last purchases that this farm made, and so the bank took ownership of it. Made their arrangements with New Holland or Fiat Financing, I should say, to keep it. So this will, I believe, I don't know about the equipment on the farm, whether the people who bought all the land and bought the buildings and everything have bought the equipment as well. I don't know that. I know there's still auction flyers going around. There's still, talk about the big auction that's coming. So I also want to send out a big shout out to Ian Blake, who apparently has bought that Joe Skin, that older Joe Skin tipper that I've been using to, cart and haul grain and stuff, and has bought it for me, apparently. One of the kind of funny things about about being a farmer is, everybody struggles. Everybody's, always looking, for the next dollar. Look at, the loans and everything else. But sometimes you have good years, and sometimes, you have stuff that happens that's a little unexpected, in a good way. And for the most part, farmers tend to stick together. We all work in the same business. We all do the same things. We all try to help each other when we can. And Ian knew that I sort of took a shine to that, or a liking, I should say, to that tipper. And apparently, it wasn't all that expensive. And he decided, what, BP could use a new tipper or another tipper. So he bought it for me. So now I have to figure out a way to get that back to Old Ridge. And hopefully, I don't know how that's going to happen. Maybe I'll have it shipped, I guess. I don't know. It's probably going to cost like crazy, but that's okay. He saved me some money by buying me a tipper. I really appreciate it, Ian. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll repay the favor at some point going down the road, So, yeah, this trailer is going to hold a lot of bales. Hopefully we can get them all on here in one shot. That would be really great. I don't know exactly how many are on this field. I don't remember, They've been sitting out here for a couple days now, and the dairy's kind of been looking to get them, Now, could they come up and get them? I'm sure they could, but, that's part of the deal about contracting. The bank gave me a list of things that, A, they were paying me for, B, that I was responsible for, and this was one of them. So, because I don't believe that they had set the actual, sale of these bales up yet. So, because I was able to buy the bales over on the smaller grass mill. I would have bought all these too, but I just didn't have any way to get them back. The Unimog is powerful, but I didn't want to be hauling 40 tons of bales down the motorway, basically. Let's see. Yeah, we're moving right along. Obviously it goes a lot quicker when you don't have to physically load them. If I had to load them, I'd be lucky if I had 2 bales on the trailer right now, but don't have to worry about that. So it goes pretty quick. It's kind of cool to do it in the cab too. Again, that's always been an impressive thing for me. Watching, those of you who do bale stacking, the right way, or the realistic way, and do everything in the cab. It's really cool. I will say these New Holland telehandlers, like my JCB, have plenty of visibility, so not really a problem seeing with it so much. It's just always depth perception. That's the big thing, I think. You just don't have the tactile feel. Like, I've loaded a few bales in my life, and when you have bales on the front of something, whether it be a front loader or whatever, you can feel that. You know what I mean? Your sense of weight, really becomes active. And you also have depth perception, where you can sort of see, out of the corners of your eyes and stuff. You don't have that in Farm Sim, obviously. So, you kind of have to rely on other things, on other cues to get stuff like this done right. And it's very tricky, and I'm always impressed with people that can do it, realistically, load them right, load them neatly, from inside the cab or even outside the cab, because it's not all that much easier out of the cab either. In case you guys are wondering, this map is soil mod ready. I don't have soil mod installed on the map because I wasn't planning on working it, so I didn't see any point in installing soil mod. Z, thank you. But what I did do was I turned the plant growth off, just so the grass didn't grow back up over all the bales and everything. Because obviously with a non-soil mod map, everything grows very quickly. So it would have been one day and then the grass would have grown back, and I just didn't want that to happen. So. Plus, I really like this undergrass texture, so. Somebody better come fill up that manure spreader. The guy's just sitting there doing nothing. Well, again, not my concern. Apparently, there's some straw bales on a field somewhere, too. And I was talking to Mr. Dean and seeing if he could make a phone call for me about any chance of me getting those too. I don't know how many it is, and I believe they're square bales. I don't care, square, round, whatever. They'll still go in my mix wagon. They'll still go to bedding for my cows. So if I could get those, that'd be awesome. If this dairy doesn't want them, or if it's a thing where they don't need them or whatever. So no issues there. I will certainly take them if I can physically get them. Thank you. If I could physically get them back to Old Ridge, I wonder how many rows high that goes. I bet it probably only goes 2 rows high, because I think there's a... You'd think I would know this, but there's a limit to how tall you can be on the roads, obviously. So now, we're not going down any main roads, but... And I have to find another way to get back to Old Ridge, too. I was talking to Perry about this earlier. We were kind of having a look at the GPS and stuff, about finding a different way to get back to Old Ridge, because I don't... The Unimog is not awesome on the motorway to begin with. It's not really, it's not designed for that. It's not what it's made for. So it's whine, the tires whine, all the transfer boxes whine. It makes a lot of noise. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. But pulling a Bale trailer down the motorway at 40 miles an hour does not sound like a lot of fun to me, because first of all, I'd be blocking up traffic. Second of all, if anything were to happen, that'd be a huge mess that I'd be responsible for. So I'm gonna have to find a different way to get back to Old Ridge. I'm sure there's got to be A or B roads that I can follow to get back. So about an hour trip on the motorway, probably maybe 2 hours going back the long way, but that's okay. That's worth it to me to avoid any disasters that could possibly happen on the motorway. So going off and on on ramps with a load of bales is not a lot of fun. So go. Well, I gotta say, I like this big version. This is the same Bale trailer that I have, just a much bigger version. I really like it. I don't need it, but I like it. This is the other thing about, and Perry was giving me a little bit of grief about this on the way down here. He was like, he says, you see all this stuff and you want it, and then you go run it to the bank and you end up spending a ton of money, and he's absolutely right. I don't need anything else right now. But I was looking at that big Massey, and I was like, ooh, that's really nice, and I like it, and then I was like, what am I going to do with it? I don't have need for... I have a big tractor. I don't know what kind of horsepower that makes. It may be right around the same as my big case, I think. I have a big fancy tractor. I don't need another one. But, I'm a little kid when it comes to that stuff. I see stuff like that, and I'm like, ooh, that's shiny, and I want it. Oh. Now, that belongs to the contractor, I would imagine. Because it wasn't on this farm when I got here, so otherwise I'd probably be using that. That's the other cool thing too. Farmers, we're all, there's a reason, farmers are into machinery, obviously. You got to be. You use enough of it. You got to enjoy it. And it's cool to use stuff that you don't use every day on your farm. That's what kind of makes this fun for me. So. Go. Doing a good job there, Perry. Just hanging out. Oh. Perry was like, "Well, do you want me to load, or do you want to load and drive the tractor?" Or I'm like, "Well, you know what? I think it'd probably be better if I load." So now, unfortunately, again, to jump out of the story, I forgot to put "follow me" in the mod folder. So you know what that means? That means that we will be riding down with Perry in the New Holland with the bales on it, because I can't just send him on his way, with follow me. So you would think, with all the work that goes into, and there's a lot of setup. That's the thing about a series like this. There's a lot of setup, because it's not just jump in the game and go do something. It's I'm trying to portray a certain thing, a certain day or a certain operation that's going on, and there's a lot of setup to get ready for it before you ever start recording. So. And invariably I miss stuff. It never, ever fails. I wonder if this trailer... Now, in real life, would you move this trailer? You probably would. But, that's just another 10 minutes of sort of no work that I don't want to mess around with. So this telehandler is plenty fast enough to scoot from one end of the field to the other. So. I wonder if they're going to slurry or muck this meadow. I would imagine they would. I would imagine the dairy probably buys all the grass off this field, every year. So I would imagine they'll probably come up and take care of it. I don't know that for certain, but the dairy that we're taking these bales to is called Randall's Dairy. Now, I guess originally at one point this dairy was actually connected to this farm. It was run by one of the uncles or brothers or or something like that. And then over the years, as as farming got harder and the money got tighter and everything, the dairy was sold off to another person. So, and it's a pretty good sized dairy too. Perry was actually down there checking it out, and he says it's a pretty good sized dairy. So, be curious to see what it looks like. As you guys all know, I love the dairy. I love the dairy aspect of farming. So, I like to see other people's operations, see how they do it, see what they're using, and all that. One thing I tend to do when I do this is I tend to leave bales sort of at the far end of the field, because I manage to go halfway down the field and then pick up another row, and I forget that there's bales on the far end too. Would not be surprised if I missed a few bales. Realized I was going a little fast. You try that in real life. You try to spear a bale at 10 miles an hour, you're going to shatter the thing. It's going to spray everywhere, and you're going to be out of bale. So, not to mention the fact you'll probably hit it. You'll probably do some damage to whatever you're lifting with the bales, whatever you're lifting the bales with, I should say. 21 minutes. Well, so much for 20-minute episodes, huh? Again, I'm not going to stress over that. I'm not going to worry so much that, every episode has to be exactly 20 minutes. If some of them run long, that's okay. Because for me, it's kind of, there are certain jobs that I certainly don't mind doing, part ones and part twos of. But stuff like this, doesn't really need to have multiple parts, I think. Let's get this done. That's sort of going to be my mantra, and I've said this before, get one thing done in an episode, unless it's, completely, a massive job or completely unwieldy and it can't be done in one episode, then I'll make parts out of it. But stuff like this, there's no reason why we can't pick up, a field of bales in one episode, bring them down to the dairy. The only reason I'm going to jump out of cab right now is so that I can see if I have left bales everywhere, which I don't think I have. I think I've actually done pretty well. Okay. Yeah, there's no real reason to make this, multiple parts. So we'll pick up all these bales off this field. We will get them down to the dairy and get them unloaded. We don't have to stack them. The dairy's going to handle that. So, and then we'll call that an episode. And then the next episode, we'll be selling all the grain that's in the sheds, because that needs to get done. The bank is kind of looking for that grain to get out of there. And I'm sure the people who are buying this farm, or this part of the farm, are looking to get those sheds empty too, so they can use them for whatever they want to use them for. And then that'll pretty much be it. We'll load up our bales that we're taking back to Old Ridge, and that'll pretty much be it for Court Farms, I think. Again, I would imagine we'll probably come back down here again, because I want to see the sugar beet operation. I want to see what they're using to plant, lift, and everything else. It's going to be really interesting, So that's one thing, I really enjoy doing, and it's good living in the UK for that reason, is that there's a lot of farms, and they're all, the ones that I want to visit are not that far away from Old Ridge, that, half an hour in Unimog, whatever, take the drone, take the cameras, go down and watch other people do stuff, I think that's fun. So I'm just I'm a big tractor spotter and farm spotter at heart too, so, I get a kick out of it when people come down and watch me work, and I know I like to go watch people work, so. One more row? I think we're going to get one more row on this trailer. That's got to be heavy, huh? I guess we will find out. Oh, mouse, why you do this to me? I know a new mouse would make my front loader, my front loader skills a little better, only in the fact that it would move a little better. My mouse is so worn out. It's a, it's an optical mouse. It's, it doesn't have a ball in it or anything. It's not that old, but, it certainly could be better, so. Because when I bought the laptop, now I had a pretty good mouse. I had a Logitech mouse when I had my gaming rig. You guys may remember me talking about that a couple of times in the past. My gaming rig, was, where am I going? Might as well start on this end, huh, BP? My gaming computer was pretty good for its time, and I had a decent mouse. But then, when I sold that and I bought the laptop, and I'm like, oh, it has that stupid touchpad thing. I can't stand that touchpad thing. I guess it's okay if you're only, using the internet or whatever. But where I do, I do stuff like this. I do graphic stuff. I needed a mouse, and, it's funny because I sort of ran into Walmart the day that I bought this laptop, and I was like, oh, I need a mouse. And there was two options. There was the $5 cheapo, throwaway mouse, or the really expensive Logitech mouse. And I'm like, I don't need. At this point, I wasn't gaming, I wasn't making videos, I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I was like, I don't need a $50 mouse. So I went for the $5 mouse, or $4, whatever it was. Regretting that decision a little bit now, just for the fact that, the longevity of it would have been better with a better mouse, and it would have been more precise. But okay. So what did BP talk about in this episode? He went on and on about his stupid mouse. Yes, he did. All right. Now, is that the last load? I guess we can find out. I doubt very much we're going to be able to go 3 high with those. In fact, I don't want to go 3 high with those. So, even if it isn't, it's going to be. We will be helpful if I had the right view. Lower that down, put it in the health and safety approved position, because we don't want to stab anybody with the bale forks. We don't want to put the bale forks into the ground either. There we go. Turn that off. Turn that off. And Perry, move over. I guess I'm driving a tractor too. Oh. All right, here we go. Beacons. Let's take a look at this load. Whew, that's a big old load, huh? You know what we're going to do, actually, before we go dump this, we're going to get our thumbnail for the video, because that's a good load of bales. Oh, and anybody who knows that I didn't stack it, so. Alt-H. No, Alt-H. That thing's going to be in the way. Well, that's okay. I can always take care of that. Print screen. Very good. All right, let's jump back in and take these bales down to the dairy. Begins now. Here's going to be the tricky bit. Going out this gate with this big old load of bales is going to be tricky. Slowly. Now, obviously, they're not going to fall off this trailer because they're not a real thing. They're when they're auto-loaded on the trailer like that, they're not actually an object until you unlock them. So now, this road and these bales. This is why you strap stuff down, kids. Always strap down your bales. It won't stop the trailer from tipping over, but it will stop the bales from falling off. Oh, this farm road. Nice and slow. And as you can hear, it's nasal BP again. I just cannot get around it. I mean, I take sinus pills. I blow my nose all the time, but I'm always nasally, just for the fact that the weather. It's 40 degrees. It's going to be 50 tomorrow. The Mid-Atlantic just had that massive storm. Luckily, I didn't get hit with it. I got about 4 inches of snow, so it wasn't too bad. But like New Jersey and Delaware and Maryland, Virginia just got pounded with snow. So, and then of course, the storm comes through and it gets rid of all that energy. Then as it usually does, you get a big high pressure system. BP, you a meteorologist now? Apparently. I watch enough of the Weather Channel to know sort of what I'm talking about. But you get this big high pressure system and the temperature goes up. So, and of course, that makes BP's nose go, and there you go. 528 videos now I think I've made. I think I've mentioned something about my nose or my health or my teeth or my tongue or, something in every single one. I think it's, I think it's important that I keep you updated on my health. I'd be terrified to drive down this road in real life with a big load of bales. Could I drive in the grass? Of course I could. But, why do that? It's more fun to drive, drive a huge, heavy load of bales on a big trailer down a bumpy, muddy farm track. So, I really hope that now we know in Farm Sim 17 we're not going to get it because they're not changing the graphics engine. And this graphics engine doesn't, I believe, it must not, because somebody would have done it, have the ability to handle dynamic terrain. But can you imagine, maybe in 19, maybe they'll go to the Unreal Engine or whatever the cool new engine is by that point, graphics engine, Can you imagine dynamic terrain where there could actually be mud, And maybe not even, like full-on spin tires kind of stuff, but something in between where, these farm tracks would fill up with water. They would get muddy. The fields would have standing water on them. They'd get muddy in spots and things like that. How cool would that be to be able to have to pull a big old load of bales like this out of a muddy farm road somewhere? I think that would be great, And again, that would be another one of those simulation things that if you don't want it, you could probably turn it off. I mean, I don't know about terrain because it's, sort of integral to the game, but maybe there would be some sort of slider that, you could say, full on, the holes and mud and water and everything, or, something in between, I guess. So I realized I haven't taken a look at this in a minute. Bale's still on it. Trailer hasn't flipped over yet, so this road is so narrow. Oh, and it would be helpful if I was actually on the road, too. I just don't want to catch this trailer. Between the dolly and the actual trailer, it's pretty long, so I don't want to catch the inside or outside of the trailer on anything when I go around these corners. And it's funny how long some stuff can take. Now, auto loading, the bale forks were picking up the bales. The trailer was unloading them. Still took 31 minutes, and it's a pretty good drive down to this dairy. So, again, I'm trying to sort of, modulate the length of these videos, make them a little more consistent, but occasionally you're going to get a longer one. I don't think 30 minutes is unreasonable. I know an hour is way too long for most of you. It's way too long for me to watch a video, in one sitting, unless it's at night after I've had dinner or whatever and I'm done for the day. And everybody has tons of videos they want to watch. A lot of people they subscribe to, and I certainly appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate the fact that you guys take time out of your day to come watch my videos. So I want to make it as easy for you as possible. And again, sometimes these episodes are not going to be, it's farm sim, right? And, and I said a while back that I wasn't going to apologize for boring episodes, and I'm not. It's just more of a, I don't know, sort of an explanation, I guess. Loading bales. For me, it's fun, especially when I can do it like this, because it works, it goes well and everything. The bales stay on the trailer, blah, blah, blah. It's not silage, it's not harvesting, which are the big hitters of farm sim, right? But it's stuff that needs to be done. It's stuff that's fun to do, and I certainly enjoy making videos of it, and hopefully you guys enjoy watching them. So we're going to get down here, we're going to unload these bales, and so I can keep this video at a reasonable length, I'll do my little outro bit right now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. As always, let me know what you think. To everybody who's given me suggestions about, how to do stuff and how this works and how you would do that and what you would use, thank you so much. I need that stuff. You guys know it. Trying to move towards more realistic farming techniques and everything really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. To everybody who's given me map suggestions and things, thank you. I will say this about map suggestions. The maps that are coming out now, Farm Sim has just gotten an explosion of super high-end, just stunningly beautiful maps, and that's cool. Not so cool for the Abacus. My computer does not like them. I always take your map suggestions. I look at every single one, and there will be more maps, more Let's Plays coming down, I just really enjoy Old Ridge, as you guys know. So the multiplayer series is obviously still ongoing. We've only had one episode. There'll be many more of that, I'm sure. There's still going to be some racing stuff. I'm working on some of that right now, actually. There's lots of stuff to watch on the channel, and you guys coming and liking and commenting and subscribing, that all means so much to me. Thank you so much. Make sure you click the like button if you like the video. It helps me in the channel out a whole bunch. Moves me up into search recommendations and all of that. And also, if you saw the thumbnail, you saw a big load of bales on a trailer, and you wanted to see how BP managed that, and you liked the video, please click the like button. Also, please consider clicking the subscribe button. It's the best way of being notified of when I make a video, which is pretty much every day, and if not every day, at least every 2 days. So now we have to pause the outro for a minute and figure out where to put these bales. Well, you know what? We're going to have one more load, so I think, and I'm going to have to bring up the HUD for a minute, so you're going to have to suspend your disbelief with the massive amounts of money that's over there. So, chosen unload side left. Is that going to be okay? Let's find out. Is it? Oh, yeah, that's fine. That works. That works. That's a lot of bales. I don't even know how many bales it was, actually. Can we find out? You can see the size of the dairy down here. It's a good-sized dairy, right? They got cows. They got a huge slurry tank. Sort of a temporary one. I don't know if it's temporary or whatever, but earthen, it's got all the retaining stuff that it needs and everything. I'd like to have one of those if I had room on Old Ridge. They got some nice equipment down here, self-drive, mixed wagons, and all kinds of stuff. Very cool. Very, very cool. Perry was right. Someday I'd love to have a dairy like this. That'd be a dream of mine. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. times 2, 30 bales we brought down. Very nice. Very, very nice. And because they have the Bale extension, I believe, yep, we can see. Now, they've been sitting out there for a couple days, so they're not as great as they could be, but they're not awful. You know, the amount's coming down a little bit. But that is not my problem. My problem is my bales, which are going to be about the same as this, I would imagine. So there you go, guys. Again, thank you so much for everything. Thanks for coming to the channel. Thanks for commenting, liking, and subscribing. Thanks for being my friends. That's really the bottom line, and it means so much to me. And as always, thank you for making me a part of your YouTube day. And this is the Bipolar Prophet saying, see you later.